Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Academia with Impact at the National Structural Integrity Research Center, NSIRC. So NSIRC is an industry-led postgraduate research center established and managed by TWI since 2012. And we aim to bridge the gap between academia and industry to maximize the value of research and produce new knowledge for users. And in order to do that, we offer unique programs with our academic partners that allows our students to gain expert know-how and in industry and learn how to succeed in business environment. So currently at NSIRC, we offer PhD programs in materials, joining and engineering processes. And we have also 7 MSc courses running that you can find the details in our website. So Chloe, could you kindly add our website link in the chat box?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. And we also have an inquiries email address and NSIRC inquiries email address. So if you do have any inquiries about our opportunities, PhDs or MScs, feel free to send us emails and we will get back to you as soon as possible. So together with Montfort University, we launched the Executive MBA last year in November. And today we are very pleased to have Dr Dyneshia, Associate Professor at Montfort University, and the program leader to take us through the course details and its impact in individuals' careers. We are also pleased to welcome Dr Shukhrat Nasirov, Senior Lecturer in Innovation and Entrepreneurship, to give us also an overview on innovation strategy and intellectual property. And because we thought that a student perspective is very important, we warmly thank Matthew Haslett, Principal Project Leader at TWI, and Namrata Kale, Collaborative Project Manager also at TWI, who will kindly give us their perspectives of the course and the added value they gained so far. Sorry. Thank you very much, Dyneshia, and over to you then.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just share my screen with you. And here we go. And are we okay to see that? Do we see a picture of a castle?
Yes, we do.
Great. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Supercharging Your Career with an Executive MBA at the Montfort University, and particularly the apprenticeship route. Okay, so I am, who am I? I am Dr Dyneshia Johnson, and I am the program leader of the Executive MBA program. And I do a couple of things in the faculty. So I'm an associate professor. I have a large management portfolio within a responsibility within the faculty. I oversee our accreditation suite. So that's professional body and school level accreditations as well. And I'm also the program director for the Small Business Leadership Program, which is actually a funded program by the Department of Business, Energy and Industry Strategy. And we've helped over about 2,500 SME decision makers to help their businesses thrive and survive throughout COVID. So it's been a bit of a busy academic year for me. My email address is there, and also you can use a QR code, will take you to my LinkedIn profile as well. And it's on the last slide as well. Okay, what am I going to cover today? I'm going to talk a little bit about who the Montfort University is, the business school, Leicester Castle Business School in particular, what an executive MBA is, what an apprenticeship is, how we aim to combine the two, and give you a little bit of the program details. And then Shukhrat is going to do a taster for you on his area of expertise, sort of innovation management and intellectual property in particular. Okay. So the Montfort University, based in Leicester in the Midlands, East Midlands in particular. So our vision as a university, we are very much committed to public good, and that's reflected in some of the sort of recognitions that the school has, being the University of the Year for Social Inclusion. We were one of the first universities to get our race equality charter, and only 8 universities were able to get it out of the 21 who applied. There are 132 universities in the UK, and we're actually the only school to have had ours renewed in comparison to the other schools. Additionally, We are the first university to be named as a UN Sustainable Development Goal Hub, and we have a responsibility for Goal 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions. So our reputation around research and innovation, we participate in the Research Excellence Framework exercise, as most universities do. The last exercise was conducted in 2014. 15, we've actually just submitted our final application for the 2020 cycle. So we're waiting for the results on that. But 74% of our research is considered to have outstanding impact or rated at 4-star, which is very considerable impact. We have about 815 research active staff across the university, and we offer over 60 specialist research institutes as well. One of the interesting things about that is that that tends to filter into our teaching, and we have research-led teaching. And that was a contribution to our 2017 gold rating for the teaching excellence framework. So yes, the REF and the TEF. They're very—
Dr. Dyneshia, sorry to disturb you. Should your slides move, or this is the slides that should be in there? We still see the first one.
Oh, what can you see now? Can you see the—
So now we see the vision and the social inclusion.
Okay, and what about now? You should
the Montfort University, Leicester, the research and innovation slide.
Yeah, sorry, it seems to have frozen, and it didn't. It's been moving along for me, so sorry about that, everyone.
No, that's absolutely fine. It happens. This is like the COVID.
Yeah, I think my connection might be a little slow. I do live with quite a few students. I live on the University of Nottingham campus, so the internet is variable on any given day. But yeah, so like I said, we quite a research and innovation focused university, or we have a good track record in that area, and that does influence our teaching. So we, like I said, gold rated for teaching excellence back in 2017. It's a cycle we go through every 5 years as well, ranking our ability to provide excellent teaching to students. So Leicester Castle Business School. So you should be seeing a logo for us in particular.
Yeah, we do.
So Leicester Castle Business School. So that is a business school within the Montfort University. And like I said, this is, we're probably one of the most accredited business schools in the sense that we have quite a few professional level ones, and we're working towards quite a few of the school level activities. I suppose the ones that keep me the busiest would be the Small Business Charter and the AACSB accreditation at the moment, and EFMD Global. I was just at a conference with them yesterday about the MBA journey for the past 3 days, actually. So, you know, you guys do take up a lot of my bandwidth thinking about how can I make the MBA better. Okay. So our mission and vision, we're very much focused on transformative education. Like I said, that idea of public good, widening participation, the ability for people to access education through different routes and not having to follow the traditional path as well. And that's why we quite like the idea of being able to offer the EMBA as an apprenticeship. Okay, and just to give you a sort of ideas about our values, and all of this, you know, is aligned to the university's strategic plan, what we do in the faculty, and then that filters down to what we teach and how we teach. Okay, so the castle element of our name comes from the fact that we acquired the 800-year-old castle in Leicester as well. So we had a rebrand once we acquired the castle back in sort of 2016 as well. So that's been quite an interesting one. There's still sort of prison cells. So it was a courtroom. So it goes in there and it's a courtroom, and there are prison cells down below, which is quite interesting. We do not put students in there, just to be clear. We also have quite a modern juxtaposition. So this is our most recent building that's been added to campus that none of us have actually seen yet, other than the pictures that they share with us. So the business school is quite a large one, 8,000 students, 200 plus staff. We have 4 departments: management and entrepreneurship, marketing and economics. accounting and finance, and people, politics, and place. We offer a range of undergraduate and postgraduate studies, but the one you'd be most interested in is obviously the MBA. Okay. So what is an executive MBA? The executive portion refers largely to the format of delivery. So it allows you to keep working while you study. And to make sure everybody comes in sort of on the same pitch, we try to get people who've had similar levels of management experience, or at least a minimum level of management experience attached to it, so that the discussions are, a bit more driven or specific as well. And so that's why we try to look at the work experience, and then also your management experience in particular. So an MBA as well is a generalist master's degree. And usually it's a tool for people who want to progress in their careers, or they might want to take some time to reflect on what they've managed to achieve in their careers so far. So that's sort of two ways in which you can use it. And obviously there's been a great explosion in a number of people signing up for MBAs since 2015. And also increasing number of women as well taking up opportunities on MBA programs. So the benefit, it can transform a specialist into a management generalist, in the sense that you may have been working in a very particular area and you want to round yourself out. You want to do some professional development that gets you to be able to work in business generally and lead in business generally. So you can move outside the sort of normal boundaries of your career or the path that you've taken. It's very much focused on building your team working skills, and also building a valuable network as well. So the idea is that Matt and they are relatively new on the program, but they'll be having some cross-pollination with our other cohorts. And we have 5 cohorts in total enrolled at the moment. Okay. Again, looking at professional growth, the ability to stay employed while you earn your degree, and then also improving your critical thinking and problem solving skills. And then also we tend to offer executive coaching and mentoring as well, as part of it. So that will help you to start to think about where it is you want to go in your career. And then also you would find that you're on a 2-year journey. And what you started off thinking you wanted to be may be very different at the end, or you may change your mind a year in. And that's really important to have the coaching and mentoring skills to help you alongside, and to come to terms with your direction of travel. So what is an apprenticeship? Essentially, it's a job plus a skills development program. So the job must have purpose and must provide you with the opportunity to gain the knowledge, skills, and behaviors to achieve a particular apprenticeship standard. In this case, you'll be aiming to achieve the senior leader apprenticeship standard. And I'll go into detail about that in the next slide. Okay. And I highlight the word apprentice because you are very much an apprentice. And it's very important for you to acknowledge and know you're an apprentice. And that makes you very aware that you're balancing both the job aspect, also focusing on the skills development aspect of things as well. Okay. So the senior leader apprenticeship standard, it's defined a leader as someone who has senior management responsibility for setting the strategic vision and direction of the organization, being able to understand the environment in which the business is operating. Okay. Also this idea of being an inclusive leader as well, someone who doesn't just look for diversity, but the idea that they're able to leverage diversity into an actual benefit for the organization. And that's the difference between diversity and inclusion. Inclusion is very much making diversity work for the organization and creating value on behalf of the organization. It's also for people who, they also define it as individuals who role model for others to start to live the values of the organization and also in achieving that strategic vision. So the occupation and profiles that this tends to cover, if you were to achieve the senior leader standard, they look at any industry. So you could be private, public, third sector, and organizations of any size. And then the specific job roles would be senior leader, section leader, chief executive, chief operating officer, financial officer, etc. Okay, so that's what the senior leader apprenticeship standard states. And it recently went through an update this year as well. So it's actually quite a contemporary perspective on it. So how do we combine the EMBA with the senior leader apprenticeship route? So basically on the program, you will complete 6 modules in the EMBA, okay? And that would facilitate you picking up all of the knowledge, skills, and behaviors that you would need. So we designed the modules to hit those knowledge, skills, and behaviors that are associated with the apprenticeship standard. So in addition to that, your assessments will be used as evidence to show that you are meeting the standard. And that evidence is then collected as part of your e-portfolio. So this is a continuous process over the 2 years of study. It's not something you can do in the last 6 months. You should start off doing it and start off with that intention. And you are assigned a reviewer and a portfolio assessor as well to help you along with that process, okay? And then you head to what we call gateway to the endpoint assessment. So having completed your 180 credits with us through the 6 modules, and completed your e-portfolio and submitting your proposal for your business plan, and then also having your math and English qualifications, and your employer needs to agree that you've met the standard, that's when we're like, right, you're ready. These are the 4 things or 5, the 4 things you need to achieve to say you're ready to go to endpoint assessment. Then you arrive at the endpoint, and that's where you provide them with a business proposal on a particular activity or problem you would like to solve in your organization. And then you also do a presentation and have a questioning. So those of you with PhDs probably have experienced about a Viva. It's a little bit like that, but not quite.
Quite harsh.
I know, I don't want to give anyone PTSD Viva. And then you have a professional discussion as well associated with that. So again, it's very, questions that are very much understanding how you've transformed, how you've built yourself into a senior leader through the formal education, but then also doing your 20% on the job. And also collecting that evidence as you go through. And at the end, you're awarded the Executive MBA degree. And then also you would have a level 7 chartered manager qualification in strategic management, okay? And that comes along with it, it's included, okay? So the admissions process, you need to have a 2.2 degree or higher at undergraduate level, and we would look at equivalent overseas qualifications. A minimum of 3 years of appropriate professional experience is required, and the duration is 24 to 30 months. And I say that because the variation is you have your study time is 24 months on the formal MBA, and then people between finishing the MBA and going to the endpoint assessment, it may take people some time to put together their documentation or get it to work with their work schedule. So we tend to allow a little bit of a window there for you to give you some flexibility. And the cost is £18,000 for the program. But again, it's funded through your apprenticeship levy and TWI as well, very generous, okay? So the program structure. The first year tends to cover what we would call management transformational knowledge. So we look at the 3 major sort of disciplines that are, you need to function across the organization. And we could consider those to be leadership, financial decision-making, and strategy. And you're going to think about how you can apply these cases to the real world. And that's really important for your 20% study and just every day as well when you're at work. So these are things that are going to influence the organization at its core, in particular, these 3 areas. In year 2, that's where we start to get a little bit more unique and a little bit more, gives you some interesting perspectives. And these, again, are very much driven by the university and the business school sort of values and our mission and vision, okay? And that's where we talk about perspective knowledge. So understanding the wider environment in which businesses operate, and then also you're aiming to start to integrate the transformational knowledge and then that perspective knowledge. And the areas we start to cover are entrepreneurship, and that is about driving your problem-solving skills. We start to look at innovation, market development, sustainability, and social value creation via the social mission, the future of work. And when we talk about that, it's the sort of jobs of tomorrow, HR, people-oriented type perspective as well. And then also governance are some of the areas that we start to cover in year 2 for you. Okay, so the program structure, just a little bit more. Each of those, we tend to have 6 modules. They're 300 hours each, yeah? So that's 1,800 hours of study. So quite a commitment in terms of how you arrange your time. But I suppose we do try to structure your experience. We start off with pre-reading lists being provided. Then we have a module warmer session for you. So you meet your module leader before you start your first block of teaching. And then also the modules, like I said, they're mapped to the apprenticeship standard, which has sort of 12 overarching occupational duties, and then 21 points of knowledge, 20 points of skills, and 5 of behavior. Don't get daunted by those numbers. I tend to take on some of that responsibility in how you achieve those. Okay, so our teaching and learning methods are varied. We use a bit of gamification, so we do a simulation on the strategy module as well. You get to access all of our databases, be it marketing or financial. We have a Bloomberg trading suite as well that you can access real-time market updates. You'd be doing a range of presentations in groups or individual reflective practice, which I think is very important for stimulating true change and building yourself and constructing yourself into that future leader that you're trying to become. Case studies, reports, critical essays, and then we also have a suite of subject matter experts that we bring in for guest lectures. Teaching is delivered over 6 days in 2 tranches of 2 days, of 3 days each, sorry. So it's 6 days, you have 3 days, usually Wednesday, well, not usually, they are Wednesday to Friday. And then you tend to have about a month, and then you have your 3 days, your second lot of 3 days, and they tend to be 9 to 5 usually, but that's a little bit flexible in terms of you guys will probably be a closed cohort, so we're happy to be flexible around meetings and so forth in terms of shifting those dates, those times rather. The staff as well, we are all subject matter experts. I'm happy to say that all of my module leaders are actually also program leaders on other programs. So they understand the sort of intricacies and the process of delivering a good program and a good quality program at the upper end of level 7. Also, because of our accreditation bid with AACSB, we do offer staff who are PhD qualified or very high level professional qualification bearing. So they're all categorized as what we would call scholarly academics or scholarly practitioners as well. You'd find people who are quite research active and as such are able to be give you quite contemporary perspectives that's supported with really useful cases as well. And then also we are expected to participate in a lot of continuous professional development. So a lot of us have gone on to do our higher level teaching qualification, have fellowships to the Higher Education Academy. We have our chartered manager status or our certified management and education educator a status as well. So that's something that we tend to promote quite frequently. So that is it from me, I believe. So thank you very much, and I will hand over to Shukhrat.
Thank you very much, Dyneshia. Thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Shukhrat Nasirov. I'm a senior lecturer in Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Leicester Castle Business School, the Montfort University. I've got a PhD in industrial economics from the University of Nottingham, and despite being in academia, I haven't been in academia for almost 3 years, if I don't count my PhD years. The majority of my experience comes from, professional experience comes from industry, and I spent almost a decade working for financial institutions, particularly in Russia, one of the largest retail banks in Russia, as well as one of the largest investment banks in Russia as well. So I sort of appreciate the knowledge and the breadth of knowledge and the depth of knowledge which executives would need right now, and which we can offer as at the university, at the business school. So in my brief talk, Dyneshia basically touched upon organizational issues and some administrative sides of the program. I see my role in this talk as providing you with more information about the content of the program, giving you some examples of what the program will be focusing on knowledge-wise, and afterwards happy to answer any questions if you have any. So basically what I would like to start with is to acknowledge that there's been a change in the type of resources that managers have to, managers have to manage in a way. And basically the focus has been shifting from more tangible assets and those assets giving competitive advantages to companies, to more intangible assets. So basically it's no longer enough for a company just to possess a certain piece of equipment or a certain physical location to be competitive and to succeed in the marketplace. The focus is on more intangible assets. And whenever we talk about intangible assets, more specifically, I can refer to intellectual property, which is protected by patents, trademarks, copyright, and so on and so forth, as well as people. People are also sort of considered, people's ideas, perspectives are also considered to be an asset for the organization. So basically the shift has been from looking at employees as in a more transactional way, as performing certain tasks, to employees in a broader sense, as also generating ideas and contributing to organization not beyond their functional responsibilities. So in this very short talk, what I'm going to talk about is to cover the role of intellectual property in providing a competitive edge to organizations, as well as the role of employees and more specifically diversity and inclusion, what Dyneshia has also mentioned in her talk, and then the overarching role of top executives and their skills and their knowledge as in terms of administering those resources. So basically, especially for technology-driven businesses, especially for high-tech businesses, intellectual property protection is something that offers a competitive edge. But quite often companies, especially mid-sized and small companies, they can even expose themselves through by just simply acquiring a patent or registering a trademark, because larger companies, what they tend to do, they tend to involve those smaller companies, especially if they perceive those smaller companies as disrupting their own businesses. They tend to litigate with those companies, and because smaller companies normally have not enough resources, they eventually may either submit to the terms and conditions of the larger company in terms of how to exploit the technology, whatever they possess in terms of intangible assets, or even leave the market because they will not be able to sustain and they will not be able to fight off all the suits which larger companies tend to file against prospective disruptors in their markets. So basically, one of the ideas around which this program is built is to equip you with certain strategies and with certain techniques. You have to bear in mind as top executives, whenever it comes to the exploitation of intangible assets, let's say technologies or even brands, in your businesses, basically. And how you can leverage institutional systems such as intellectual property protection system to your own advantage, so that not to expose your business to litigation, to lawsuits, and to minimize the threat of such events. Another thing is the world, and especially those companies that rely on technologies, the world is getting more open, and meaning that proprietary systems, so the systems which are based on an exclusive use of intellectual property, they are sort of becoming obsolete, and companies try to collaborate with other organizations, to create some sort of conglomerates of organizations in order to exploit their intellectual property in the most efficient way. Therefore, in this program, you will learn, or probably refresh your knowledge about licensing strategies, collaboration strategies, joint venture, strategic alliances, and so on and so forth. Another thing, if we move on from intellectual property, from technologies, from brands to human resources, another thing which this program focuses on, and basically it kind of is consistent with our view of executives managing future resources rather than the current resources. In a way, the program will teach you how to manage the resources of the future rather than what you have probably been managing so far. So basically, another trend which has been observed in the market is related to diversity and inclusion, meaning that in Western countries, especially in companies, we have more and more individuals with different backgrounds. These backgrounds can be ethnic-based backgrounds. There can be different age profiles. There can be different gender profiles. So basically, the idea, and again, I'm sort of recalling what Dyneshia has said in her introduction, is that the program will teach you how to manage those diverse resources in the most efficient way, how to move on from simply signaling your commitment to diversity to actually implementing diversity practices and making your organizations more inclusive. That's what actually can help companies to extract as much value from their human resource, from diverse human resources. One of the studies I've been involved personally in, we will look at basically at the ethnic diversity in organizations and whether it somehow is associated with a greater workforce turnover. And the conclusion from that study is, unless properly managed, diversity can harm organizations in the way that it creates social categorization and clustering within the organization. So basically, in order to avoid such negative consequences of diversity and make diversity benefit your organization and make your organization more inclusive, you need to know certain practices and you need to implement certain processes in the organization. And again, one of the goals of this program is to teach you those practices and processes. And finally, the final beat of the final part of my brief talk would be about the role of top executives. Obviously, this is Executive MBA, and the focus is going to be at the corporate level decision making. And here again, I'm going to get back to what Dyneshia said about the generalist and how being a generalist executive can help organizations. There's been an enormous amount of studies showing that there is a trend towards the generalization, if you will, of skills of chief executives, of top executives. There is a trend in the market there's been a trend in the market, especially in the United States, but now it's kind of moving to Europe and the rest of the world, that companies tend to hire more and more of people at the executive level who have generalist skills. What I mean by generalist skill, that it means not only a variety of functional experiences, but also a variety of experiences of different organizations, different industries, different positions. So these people tend to be paid more and tend to bring certain qualities and certain things to the organization that ultimately help organizations succeed in the marketplace. What in particular they can be good at, again, I'm going to refer to my own study, which I'm doing together with Yasmin Kaur at Cambridge University and Shirley at the University of Nottingham. So basically, our studies show that executives with general skills, with a more diverse background, they're better at converting technology that the company possesses into final products. So basically, they are better at recognizing the value of technological portfolios. They are better at selecting the best projects out of a variety of projects submitted for consideration, and ultimately, it results in a better outcome in terms of new product development. So, basically, another goal of the program is to transform you from probably specializing in a limited number of areas into truly generalist executives, in order to help not only you be competitive in the marketplace, but also to help your organizations benefit from your generalist background. Okay, that's basically an overview, of very brief, probably not quite structured, but very brief overview of sort of the content which we will be teaching on this program. And I'm also happy to answer any questions related to what I've said and have any discussion during the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shukhrat. It was really, really interesting. Thank you very much. So I think we will leave the Q&A session until the end. So we will now hand over to Matthew and Namrata, please.
Excellent. Thanks, Ameni.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit, myself and Namrata are both students on the current cohort of the MBA. So we're going to talk a little bit about a sort of student perspective. So I'll hand over to Namrata for the first part of this first slide.
Thanks, Matt. So hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Namrata Kale. So I work at TWI and now a student of Executive MBA program. Yes, so why I study Executive MBA, so supporting what Dyneshia and Shukhrat just mentioned is about bridging the knowledge gaps. So I have quite a few years of professional experience, but now it's time to bridge the knowledge gaps, bring in from the academic perspective as well, and also to develop various skill sets to manage modern businesses, as you have heard already in the beginning of this webinar. So developing the social skills, cultural, technical, and organizational.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we, kind of fits for both of us really is the opportunity to develop a portfolio of skill sets, and the fact we can do it on the job. So we can do it alongside our job roles and learn some of these things. And a better understanding of the business side. So both of us are working sort of a technical background. So I lead projects, more single client type technical work in various areas. So it's to get a better understanding overall of what our business is doing. So for us at TWI, to get a better understanding overall of what's going on. Because sometimes you have conversations and you get information from directors, etc. And sometimes it's difficult to know, why decisions have been made or why changes are being implemented. So what we're hoping to achieve. So first thing will be obviously an accredited MBA. So, and the thing for me was certainly in addition to my technical qualifications. So I have, my degree in engineering, and that is for my day-to-day role. But it was to get sort of broaden my scope really and have, pick up this MBA. And hoping that the relevant knowledge is going to help me with leading and managing in a business environment. So rather than being too blinkered and sticking to the technical side of things, having a better understanding overall of how the company is the aims and the mission statement of the company and what we're aiming to do overall will help me then lead my projects to make sure that I work towards that overall aim as well.
Yes, again, I mean, it's better understanding, as Matt said previously, about what decisions are being made by the senior management. So what made them make those decisions? So the course helps provide an insight into that aspect as well, and also gives us the ability to mentor others and mentor the colleagues as we build our knowledge, skills, and behavior in this program. And how will this help in my TWI role? So just to let you know a little bit about myself. So my current role includes managing a portfolio of public funded projects. So these are funded by the European Commission or Innovate UK. And there are multi-million projects involving large consortia, I mean, as many as 19 to 20 partners. And these are partners from universities, from industries, RTOs, and small and medium enterprises. So really working with different types of people. And the course, as I said before, is like kind of helping me to build, to bridge any knowledge gaps, and also giving me time to reflect on what I already have, what I can learn, and also to respect the challenges of the modern day business. And of course, the course is helping me to progress my career.
And yeah, for my side of things, again, managing lots of different projects as Namrata does, but mainly fully technical based, and also generally for single clients. But they do involve working across numerous sections at TWI. So my specialisation in testing areas, I will work with colleagues across various departments, metallurgy, welding process, etc. And I'm hoping that, the idea of this learning is, again, giving me a bit more context in how my role fits into the overall aims, and really as well, just overall improving the knowledge of what goes on in the business function. So, I get support from our commercial department, finance, etc., in order to deliver our project work. And, I'm not an expert in them areas, but I'm hoping to get a bit more of an understanding of those areas to help me work and deliver my projects more effectively.
Yeah, so the course is going on really well. So we finished our first module, and we were awarded our marks as well, so which were quite good. And would certainly have preferred face-to-face classroom sessions, but which would have helped to like kind of switch off completely from the day-to-day activities. However, I mean, the online sessions are going on really well. The module warmers and pre-readings helps kind of prepare for the teaching days and what to expect. And the breakout sessions during the online teaching is quite good, and it helps to interact with the fellow students. And outside the virtual classrooms, we interact with the other members of the cohort via WhatsApp, and we have coffee sessions on Zoom, and we share our experiences and also ask questions about the assignments, and really starting to get a feel of a suitable balance between work, study, and overall life in general. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next module, and I'm sure Matt will also say the same. So it's about the financial decision making. Some pre-reading has been shared, and we also had a warm-up session, and which has raised curiosity and also making me nervous.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's the 6 different areas all sound very interesting. So at the moment, I'm in sort of, my interest is the next one coming up, kind of the next module. So. Regarding the support side of things, so obviously this is a joint venture between the Montfort University in Leicester and NSIRC and TWI, so jointly. So support-wise from DMU, from the university, we've obviously got a programme leader, so for our cohort and for this Executive MBA, it's Dyneshia. We also have the module leaders, one for each of the 6 modules, and then we have the contacts on the apprenticeship side of things as well. And we, often, specific questions, we'll speak to specific people on these, something very detailed on a module, speak to our module leader, but sometimes we need a bit of information or help with the apprenticeship side of things, so tracking our progress, adding for the e-portfolio and tracking the time that we've spent, etc. So we've got all them contacts, and we can contact them via email or phone as required. Support, so as TWI staff, myself and Namrata, we have a TWI staff person who's our mentor. So for us, it's actually our group manager who manages the materials and structural integrity group. And the idea is for them to help us as we go along in collecting our evidence and suggesting work that is relevant to the modules and to the project, etc., and supporting us on the journey. And John, who's our mentor, has a background in some technical work and also now as a manager as well. So he has a good understanding. And the NSIRC staff as well, support from them in getting involved. So certainly the initial application, deciding whether it was the right thing for us. Was it, worth applying for? Do we have a good chance of getting on? And also, would it be relevant to our roles? And making sure that everything's progressing well throughout the time. And the other thing, we also, for our cohort, I'm the student representative. So there's various program meetings that the university run, and I will join them to listen in. I'll also gather student feedback and feed that back to module leaders and the program leader as we go along. And that's especially relevant at the moment because of obviously the pandemic. We've been doing sessions online where there would have been a mix of online and face-to-face. So it's feeding that back on what things work and what doesn't, because not everything works in both contexts. And finally, just to cover the 20% off the job learning. So basically with that, what we use, 20% of our time goes towards study. So we're moving down to really 4 days a week of work and 1 day of study. So things that we've found so far, myself and Namrata discussed this before, is booking the study days, or whether it's days or half days, very early. So getting them in the calendar and having it in advance, so people will not put meetings on them days and will work around them. And sticking to that routine. We need to, make sure that we stick to that, because if you get behind on the 20% early on, then you're going to be in trouble towards the end, because you have to pick up some hours and it doesn't really work. Avoid an ad hoc approach. When I first started, I thought, right, I'll just do my normal work and fit in an hour here and there, but it doesn't work. So the plan is to set it up properly, get your days booked in, and then have study on them days. And give it the same importance as other work activities. So once it's in the calendar, that is, your time for study. And unless it's a very, important client meeting, it has to be done on a certain day, then you don't want to be moving things around. Making colleagues aware of study commitments, making sure that they know, you're spending 20% of your time on study and when it is as much in advance, so they'll avoid putting meetings and work around it. And part of that as well is ensuring the management buy-in. So, we're fortunate, myself and Namrata, because one of our, not our direct line manager, but at the next level up has bought into us doing this, the apprenticeship and the EMBA. So need that buy-in, because in reality, you're going to have to spend a certain amount of your work time studying. And just last one is as simple as setting out of office replies. So if I know I'm going to work for the day, so say at the moment I'm doing Wednesdays, Tuesday evening, out of office goes on, and just make sure that people are informed. I'll be studying. If something super urgent comes in, I can action it if I need to in a break or very quickly, but just keeping people informed as you would if you were out the office on leave, for instance. Okay, so that's all we have. Thanks very much for letting us talk here and just give a bit of a student perspective. And I will hand back to Ameni.
Thank you very much, Matt and Namrata, for sharing your experience. That is really good to hear. So we will have some questions. I know we have 10 minutes for questions, but please, if we don't answer all your questions or you feel that you have more questions, do not hesitate to send them through our NSIRC inquiries email address, and we will get back to you. So we will start by the first question, and I think it's for you, Dyneshia. So what is the difference between the Executive MBA and the normal MBA? And also, is there a specialized MBA?
So the difference between the executive and the Executive MBA and the MBA is literally the mode of delivery. Okay, so it's very much, we are outside the regular delivery of the university, where students are studying over a module over a 12-week period at postgraduate. Rather, you're coming in for really intensive block teaching. So like I said, those two tranches of 3 days and 3 days. and the full day as well. So it's more the mode of delivery so that you can continue to work full time. And that's why it works really well within the apprenticeship framework. So in terms of specialized MBAs, that's an interesting question, in the sense that, yes, it's supposed to move towards becoming a generalist. However, you do see some trends where people are asking to study a particular type of MBA. We don't offer a specialist one, but I will say that our modules are, in the second year in particular, are more specialist because of the research expertise that it's leveraging from the faculty. Okay, so social entrepreneurship and innovation, so business and sustainability, those are areas, and the entrepreneurship, those are linked to some of our research centers and the active research portfolios of the module leaders running those. So that offers some specialization. You're not going to find social entrepreneurship and sustainability at quite a few schools. I know this because Shukhrat did our scoping exercise as early as September 2020 to understand what's being offered. So that's how we also try to remain current.
Okay, thank you. So while we are talking about the MBA and the executive one, so what makes this executive MBA different from other executive MBA like delivered by other institutions? What makes ours unique and different?
Yeah, so I suppose one of the main things is it's zero optionality. In the sense that it's a very structured program. This is what you do. You don't need to think about it. There's no modules to choose from. Now, there are debates on that. Some people like choice, but I would argue in studying in 30 credit blocks, or those 300-hour blocks, that allows for what we would call deeper learning and more commitment to long-term memory in particular. It allows you to then also cover a very broad range within a particular topic. So you get the depth and breadth rather than 15 credits here, 15 credits there, or using smaller modules. So this actually drives deeper learning, allows you to do more extensive projects as well, which are better for your portfolio in the apprenticeship. Again, like I said, the subject areas that we tend to use, the sustainability, the social entrepreneurship in particular, bring a very unique perspective on doing an MBA as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Dyneshia. So this is, I think, for Matt and Namrata. How are you finding the online teaching? Is it different from the face-to-face? Do you feel like you get what you needed with the online teaching? Like, has the COVID affected your teaching? Yeah. Yeah,
I think overall, I think personally it's been pretty good. I get involved. I actually run training programs and teaching from my side of things technically, and I've actually been doing that the last couple of weeks. And yeah, it's you have to change. You do have to modify things a little bit. You don't have necessarily the same feedback that you'd have in person. And I certainly think for a lot of subjects in person, it's certainly better where it's possible. But overall, I don't think it's affected sort of the quality of the knowledge and the learning that we've had. We've had regular sort of breakout sessions where we split into smaller groups and discussed papers and different information when we did the leadership module. And it looks like that's going to be similar for the financial decision making, actually getting involved and doing, rather than just being lectured to for 2 or 3 hours on end, just across the screen is obviously quite difficult. I think I certainly would find that quite difficult to listen to all the time. So yeah, so the variation's been quite good. And I think overall, I think it's been handled quite well because it's been a short time to actually change to this method of teaching. It wasn't expected to be necessarily like this. And yeah, so far it's worked quite well in my opinion.
Thank you, Matt. Namrata, do you want to add anything to Matt?
No, I fully support what Matt said, and as I said during my presentation as well, I think it's been handled really good. I mean, yes, face-to-face is always preferred, but the way it is ongoing is really good. I'm very happy with it.
Oh, that's good. There is another question in here. I think all of you can contribute to this one. So why do an MBA and commit when you can learn on your job?
So shall I come in with that? So that's a good question. And that kind of goes to this idea of whether or not you do need to take out, you know, some of the changes that they've made around doing a mandatory sort of master's qualification alongside the apprenticeship. Now, I will say this, as you see the knowledge, skills, and behaviors, there are 46 of those, and there's also 12 occupational duties. We take the guesswork out of it largely by aligning the modules to those. So that makes sure by the time you go through it, you're going to hit a considerable number of those. And then we also offer the assessor and the reviewer alongside the process to help you. Otherwise, you'd be relying on your own knowledge and hoping that you're hitting it at the right level, and your workplace mentor. So this gives you more people to lean on, and gives you a accredited program as well alongside it. So it's sort of double bang for your buck as well, in the sense that you're also coming out with the Executive MBA as opposed to just the apprenticeship standard.
Yeah, I'd agree with that side of things. That structure that's put in place is really helpful, because if you just pick up the senior leader standard and without any context, I wouldn't know where to start, to be honest. It'll be quite difficult to know how your role relates to it and how you can build up the relevant evidence. So by doing the formal study, that fills in some of them areas, and then you can expand on them in your role and discuss with your mentor, program leader, to make sure that you're doing things that are going to lead to the correct evidence to put in the portfolio. Because again, if you leave that to last minute, don't have any advice, then I'm not sure how you'd be able to do it, to be honest.
I can jump on this one as well. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Basically, to start with, I feel it's a bit of an artificial choice, either or. You either learn whilst working, or you are trained. You can do actually both. There is on-job training, there can be university formal training, and they have their own advantages. Obviously, when you work within there, again, I'm speaking from my own experience, when you work within an organization, you are exposed to certain practices and processes within that organization that have been quite established. And you may not necessarily see any better or any worse, and therefore your perspective is very limited, mostly bound to the organization in which you work. Whereas with the course, with this particular program, what we try to achieve is to expose you to or introduce to you a variety of perspectives from different industries, from different businesses, through case studies, through business cases, and so on and so forth, that you can learn from, including the way the course is structured. It's structured by also functional areas, so you may not necessarily be exposed to marketing knowledge. Whereas if you work, for example, in accounting, therefore it sort of broadens your perspective in a way, which the opportunity to do so through just on-job training are very limited. And that's why I'm saying there shouldn't be such a choice, either on-job training or higher education, a university degree. There can be both, and they can have some sort of synergistic effect overall for your organization and for your professional development as well.
I totally agree, Shukhrat. Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. Thank you very much. I think we have time for just another question. We do have more, but I think we can get individually to the people who asked us questions. And Chloe, kindly put the inquiries email address in the chat box that you can use for more questions if you want. So we have the final question, and I think it's for you, Matt. Is it beneficial to do an MBA while doing a technical work? Actually, what's this gonna add to you?
Yeah, so I think for me, I've never been sort of a deep technical specialist. I don't like to get bogged down in one area. So I feel that my role as a project leader, I want to support that as best I can. So this MBA gives me the opportunity to be able to do that. It broadens my knowledge outside my sort of technical sphere and allows me to then take that and, as I said, understand a bit more about the business I'm working in. Because when I started, I came in about 10 years ago now, but as a project leader, and just got on with the work that I was given. Didn't really know much about the company as a whole, what really the overall aims are. Mission statement is, you see it, but what does it really mean? What are the aims? What's in our corporate plan? What's the 5-year strategy? And if you come at that, as you get experience, you know a bit more about it. But even working across departments, you know, it's a bit more of an understanding of what all our different functions are doing, how that leads, you know, for us to meet the aims of TWI as a company and as a group. So yeah, so for me, it's about broadening that knowledge and having a better understanding of what's going on, so I can better use that information on when I deliver projects and support our clients as best we can.
Yeah, so you don't need to be a manager to do an MBA, or?
No, absolutely, yeah. I think the idea is, you know, that might, you know, if I end up going into some direct line management responsibility, then it's obviously going to be very useful. But if that's not the case, then it's still going to be very helpful to be able to have that overview and then basically manage sort of ad hoc. So rather than, you know, myself, I don't have direct line management, but I manage project teams, and they'll change depending on the types of project. So the stuff I'm learning, for instance, on the leadership module we've just done, has been ideal. It's reinforced some of the things that I already do, and it's helped me think about some of the things that maybe I can improve on in order to get the best out of, you know, the team, basically.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Namrata, do you want to add anything?
No, again, in agreement with Matt here. So this is really helping me. And as I said, the leadership module was really good in terms of providing a better understanding and challenging the perspective that I had about leadership. So it's been a great journey so far.
Oh, perfect. I'm glad to hear that. I think we slightly overrun. We have another question about funding. If I can quickly take it as well. Danish, I think it's for you. So the question is, I'm going to summarize it. Is the MBA now fully funded after the last government guidelines on the MBA? Because now we are not allowed to take the MBA or the executive MBA higher senior roles, I mean, in the executive MBA. How does that affect this program?
So it's the 14,000 drawn from the levy, and then there will be a top up of £4,000 from your organization.
Thank you, Dyneshia. I think we are getting more and more questions, but we don't have time.
Yeah.
I think we will take just another more questions. I am from India and have more than a decade of work experience in the construction and manufacturing industry. I have few years of supervisory experience. My question is this EMBA for me?
I would say yes. You know, the industry aspect of it. So we have people from very, you know, diverse organizations who participate in our EMBA. And I would say really and truly, regardless of what background or organization or you know, even how you're going to access this, it's no particular path. And as such, really, it's about expanding and broadening that knowledge and perspective and challenging what you already know. If you're open to knowing something or challenging what you know or trying to know something in a different way, then yeah, it's absolutely for you in that regard. You know, I would say, you know, I look at the students on the social entrepreneurship module, and that's an interesting one. So listening to Namrata talking about publicly funded organizations and working with NGOs and so forth, those present some of the most specific grand challenges of our time. They present what we would call wicked problems that are so complex, and then having you sweat in what we would call the social space to try and figure out what it is. It starts to challenge you and your beliefs on, you know, the world and how we should be operating as a society. You know, it throws you into an existential crisis. I think the first day that I talked to Matt and Namrata in induction, I asked them, who are you? And they were all like, this is really early. my existence and who I want to be in 2 years' time when I finish this course. So, you know, when I say that, you know, and I said that in one of the things, yes, it's about some people might want to use the MBA for career progression, but some people also want to do it to reflect on what they've achieved and why they've done what they've done for the past 10 years. So 10 years in construction, 3 years in a supervisory role, you might wonder, is this for me? Or could I have done it differently? Maybe I want to proceed with the next 13 years in a different way. It's a great place to do that. You know, and I will say this, I'm done a PhD myself, I say to people, nobody else is going to allow me the space to think about my life, what I'm doing and my purpose for 4 years as I had done on the PhD program. So, you know, that space that you can carve out, that 20% from work, those 6 days that you're going to spend with us, the time you're going to spend reading and expanding your mind, that for me, I would argue it's you know, in that regard, it's for everyone, or it has something that can appeal to most people.
Yeah, I think I'd just say on that side of things, yeah, regarding, I thought it would generally all be about learning new things, but some of the things, certainly on the first module, have been reinforcing what I'm already doing and as Dyneshia said, reflecting on it. Because in reality, I mean, everyone's going to approach leadership and management differently. There's not necessarily a right or wrong answer in all the cases, and no one's perfect at it, so you can always learn something, even if you've been I'm sure some CEOs who've been around for many years doing things could still learn something from doing additional study. So yeah, I think it's certainly a worthy thing to do, and at a lot of different levels, definitely.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more than Danish, to be honest. This is really good. I think I'm gonna now say thank you to everyone. Thank you for all the attendees. I hope you learned more about the MBA. And as I said, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email us and we will get back to you. Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you, Namrata, for sharing your experience. Thank you very much, Dyneshia, and Shukhrat. Thank you as well. And have a nice day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ameni, for hosting. Thank you.
Thank you.